The other point I was trying to make about the podcast that like my this group of guys that I went to high school with, right? If you look at their
Yeah.
videos, right, some of them have like 50 videos, some of them have 100 videos, some of them have like 70 videos or something like that, right? Well, there's one video with 280 video views, right?
Yo.
And guess what the title is?
It's just like I'm talking about who they liked in high school or something like that. Is that actually?
I didn't watch it, but it's
Uh-huh.
the title was like girls, girls, girls.
Oh, okay. So let's
So
try that one. Yo, let's
that's,
see which one gets more views. We're half the
you
talking
can,
about girls. We're half the talking about stuff. Yeah.
that's a good way to clickbait also. Like, like have like a 30-minute a video, right? Talking about like random things, right?
Yeah,
And then
yeah,
like mention it once, right? And then make the title like and put a minute like 24 out of 30 or something like that. People are gonna watch the entire video just to see like, oh, like, did Joe like me in high school? Like, did Joe like me in middle school?
Give me a second. I've been
Okay.
it's too loud. All right, I just moved locations.
Yeah.
But keep going.
We could, in theory, like name this video "Girls, Girls, Girls," right?
Yeah, we
Because
could.
we explicitly said that in our video. Right, we're literally taking a quote from what we said and what we talked about in our video, right?
Well, yeah,
And
you
we
can
can
talk
get
about
a
girls a little bit too, right? Like, what was it
yeah,
like for you, Sunny? Like when you liked the girl back in the day? Let's say childhood, right?
yeah. Oh
Uh,
man, I mean, I had some scarring memories from growing up. I mean, I think the funniest memory that I have that actually was the most traumatic was basically in my second grade. Um, so shoot, I can't really talk about this very loudly. I gotta move to the corner to lower my voice. But yeah, dude. Um, Let me explain the story, right? But when I was in second grade, there's this girl that I really liked, right? But we both went to the same like music, like what is it like? What is it called? Like conservatory,
yeah.
right? So like I learned violin. She learned some other instrument.
Hmm.
But yeah, I really like this person, right? And then like my dad like noticed that this person was also very like pretty. Right? He was like, like your parents can like identify who's like, a
Yeah, yeah,
classmate in
yeah.
your grade who like, like looks I don't know, like it is pretty or something like that, right? So my dad would always bother me. In fact, my mom would also bother me about this, right? Eventually my sister even bothered me about this. Right? Um
Oh my.
but yeah, I kept like at first I kept denying it. I don't know. Even at that point, I guess I had some shame. Right? I mean, I don't know what was deep down,
Yeah.
but for some reason, I kept denying it. Right? But then eventually, I caved in and I said, yeah, like, when they asked me, I said, yeah, like, I think I like this person. But then so I had violin lessons with this person, and those were like my like favorite moments of second grade, right? Because whenever I would go to my violin lessons, right, I would be able to like see this person for like 5 minutes because like my violin lesson was right after this person ended hers, right?
Mhm.
So like there'd like be that like 5 minute leeway, right? Where like the previous violin lesson would be running a little late, right? So I would see
Yeah.
her coming out, right? And I would just like sort of like look away, pretend I don't care, right?
Yeah,
But I'd be
yeah.
able to like like observe from a distance, right? Gaze from it sounds disgusting, right? But like you know what I mean, right?
Yeah.
Second graders, right? But yeah, there's this one time where it was like 5-10 minutes, right? And then my dad asked me like, "Oh, Sonny, is that person?" Right? And then I think my dad at that point must have forgotten that I told him like, "Oh yeah, like I think this person is so pretty." Right.
Yeah.
So my dad like literally goes up to like my dad asks me, right, like, "Oh, Sonny, like do you like this person?" Right. Now I'm like, no, 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 because I don't know what my dad will do. Right? And then my dad is like, Sonny, I can tell this person and like try to set you guys up. Right? I was like, what the
In
heck? Like,
second grade? That's kind of
what?
weird. In second grade, like he was actually
Yeah,
serious about it.
I don't know. I think it's joking around, right? But
Okay.
I
But
was
she
like,
heard it.
no, right? So I was telling my dad like, be quiet,
Okay.
right? Like
Yeah.
she's right
Yeah.
there, right?
Yeah.
But what my dad ends up doing, right? He literally steps like even though I said like don't do this, right? He literally steps up and he goes to this person, right? And he tells her,
Oh.
hey, like, what do you think about Sunny? right? And then
Oh,
like
what?
I was like beat red, but then like this person was like, oh, I don't know, like he's cool, or like he's a cool person, something along those lines, right? And then but my dad asks again, right? He's like, oh, do you like him? Right? And then like I turned beet red. I was like looking away, like I was like like messing around with like my violin zipper or something like that,
Yeah.
right? To pretend like I'm not
Yeah,
overhearing
yeah,
it.
that's so funny.
And then this person was like, "Oh no, no, I don't like him." And then like, my dad like kept pressing and kept asking. Where eventually he was like, "Do you like Sunny?" Right? Or like he was like, "Do you like Sunny?" Like, you know, something along those lines.
Yeah.
Right? And then like she was like, "No." Right? And I was so red, I was so beat red, I was so embarrassed. Right? I had my violin lesson. I probably couldn't focus. I don't remember. Right? But it was terrible, man. And literally, this traumatized me. This traumatized me all the way up to like even eighth grade. Right? Like I
Yeah.
never opened up about like anyone that I had a crush on. Right? All throughout my middle school, from second grade to eighth grade, right? Elementary and middle school, because of this one incident, this traumatic incident that happened. Right? So one thing I like to tell people is that like in my eighth grade, I had the social IQ and the social sort of like uh, adeptness or whatever, right? Whatever the term is, like
Okay. Yeah.
ability, right, of a
Yeah.
second grader, because I just stopped. I completely leveled off in second grade after this traumatic
You
incident.
know, that's funny though. Like when
Yeah.
I think one of the embarrassing things when these things sort of things happen, especially when you're younger, is when your face turns really red,
Yeah.
right? And for me, like, dude, whenever like a girl, so like I could feel my face turning. You could always feel your face turning red, right, when you
Right.
like the girl.
So when I said that my face turned red, I was speaking more metaphorically.
Oh,
Like
your
I
face did not
probably
turn actually red.
I don't know. Like I
Okay.
can't really see myself, right? But I'm saying like I was that embarrassed. Like
Yeah.
my
Yeah.
my face is probably heating up. But like, are there actually like incidents in your life where like you are having like an embarrassing moment, right? And then like your face literally turns red and
Yeah.
you see that.
I don't know to what extent, but I do remember like I could feel like the cheek
Yeah,
area.
exactly. Yeah.
It just it's like something's going on there, right? Some sort of melatonin, melanin, whatever,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And then I go to the bathroom and behold, it is red, and it could be because
Behold,
it could be because
lo and behold.
yeah, it could be like I'll admit it could be that I felt my face being red. My face wasn't actually red, but I got nervous and then I sweat and then my face became actually red.
Yeah.
Self-fulfilling prophecy. But
Yeah.
I do think that I tend to have, at least to a degree, my face will turn red.
Yeah.
Um, and I think girls knew that, and it was weird, man. When that's the case, you just get like
Yeah.
you get exposed. It's weird. Uh,
Yeah.
but it's just how it is. But dude, I actually have an interesting story when we're on the topic of
Really.
girls.
Yeah.
I just remembered. But back in the day, this is another thing with parents and you liking people. But whenever like me and another kid would be in the back seat, we're just talking, right? And a girl's name pops up, right? And then like my dad's driving or my mom's driving, right? And then they go home, right? They drop off the kid. They always think I like the girl. Like it doesn't matter who the girl is. Like I'll be like,
Same.
oh,
Same.
oh
Literally
like
same.
this girl's like like not in my grade, like this little white girl, like it's just like some other person, right? But this person would be like, oh yeah, so like talking about this person, like and,
Young Chen pull you up and be like, hey,
yeah,
Chico Justin.
like, who's this person? Tell me what they look like. Um, to the point where I remember at one point I actually, because I think part of their concern was like, oh, does my son like girls, right? Because it's like they want to sort of like they
Yeah,
want to
for
know that
sure.
I kind of grew up and stuff. So I think at
Yeah.
one point I did like, so I had this strategy where I like the girl, but I think it'll be not to my advantage to let my parents know that was the girl. So I said like another girl that I just like, it's just some random white girl that I would never really interact with in my life. So they
Yeah.
think it's like this person. In reality, it's this person. And like that way, like when the conversation pops
Yeah.
up, like they'll know it's never that. So if that person's name comes up with me and my friend in the back seat, like my parents won't ever be like, oh, that's the girl, right? Like, I've always
Yeah.
felt so weird when it comes to that. Like,
Yeah.
we talk about girls in the back seat, and there's just a kid here, like, just saying different names.
Yeah.
I always thought that was really funny. When it comes to girls, but I was always not the type to ever say who I liked. Actually, I
Yeah.
was pretty chicken about it. Um, I don't know. I don't know if you were like that. Like,
So I think for me, like I can
yeah,
relate it. I can sort of justify it by saying like, okay, probably the root cause for why I was so afraid to tell people was because of this incident, traumatic incident in
Mhm.
my second grade, right? Where I told someone, the very first time I told somebody, it backfired. Right?
Yeah.
But how about for you? Do you think like this is an innate thing? Like we are
I think,
innately embarrassed and
well, there's
humiliated, or
many reasons. It's just
yeah,
one is inadequacy, right? I practically didn't think that I would date. I didn't think that like
yeah,
it's one of the things where I looked up to someone I liked, but I don't think I'd ever be able to date that person.
yeah,
So it would be like I obviously like them. If someone asks me, like I have to say no because I don't even want them to know. I don't want this to ever be a thing because I'm ashamed of the fact that I like them, but I'll never reach that point. Um, well, the funny thing is, uh, oh, actually, you're frozen. All right, we had a technical difficulty. Oh yeah, I was saying like the reason why I think I didn't speak out
oh,
about
yeah,
who I liked is because uh, I always thought of myself sort of inadequate.
right,
So one, I was scared. And two is I thought that the girl I liked was a lot better than kind of out of my league, sort of.
right,
And in that sense, I thought that like I liked them and I couldn't control those affections, but I don't want anyone to know. I don't want it to become a thing. So I wasn't even like intrinsically motivated to ask them out to begin with. So whenever
yeah,
someone brought it up, I always be very like kind of annoyed. Um, so like for me, uh, what's interesting is I would be pretty good at hiding what I liked, or like I don't know if I'd be good at it, but I'd make an extra effort to do that. So
yeah,
especially like in class, I would never make eye contact with the person I like. So instead of like,
yeah,
in fact, I remember looking at Google and I was like, oh, like how do you know if someone likes me? And then doing the exact opposite of what this you said. So I remember like it was so funny. I did it incognito too. I was like, oh, I don't want to, but oh yeah. So one of the things is like, oh yeah, like if you like someone, your feet tend to like tend to point to
I've
them.
heard this one too. I heard this
I
one
don't know
too.
why, but from
Yeah,
then on, I was always very conscious. Okay, my feet, have to turn towards this dude, instead of this girl. And during classes, I would always like feel really weird when like girls presenting and I like her. I would like I didn't know how to look. Like I would like look for a few seconds, but have to make sure I look away.
yeah,
Or like in other times of the day, like I would just make sure I avoid eye contact. So it's almost like I made myself obvious, not because I had all the signs, but because I lacked any of the signs.
yeah,
So I don't know if it was obvious, but even when I wrote like, I mean, when I was really young, when we had to write those Valentine's Day things, like you go to school, like I would always, make it very vague with every girl. Say like all these letters, not one of them stood out. If anything, the ones that stood out was the one that is least likely. Or even like those games where you have to like you throw the ball and you have to pick who to throw the ball next to. I was always premeditating. Okay, like I'll throw it to like this guy first, but then like I don't want to always throw it to guys because it's like a little weird. So I have to pick like which girls. But it would always be such a self-conscious thing
yeah.
in my mind, and uh, I think yeah, I was never very mature with relationships, especially when it came to high school. Like I was very bad. Uh, I guess that could be another time we can talk about high school.
Yeah.
But when I was younger, yeah, I definitely avoided this topic. Um, and I know some guys would just straight up say this stuff, but yeah, I would always avoid it.
Let me ask you a question, Joe. So you had these feelings, um, and you desired, but at the same time you didn't desire because you didn't think it was realistic, or because there's also this
Yeah,
simultaneous desire that was like,
unrealistic.
I don't want to date.
Oh no, I wanted to date, or
Yeah.
I had a crush, right? So
So
I didn't know
you
what that
like this
meant.
person, yeah. So you
Yeah,
like this person. You didn't really know how to process those things, but you certainly did not want to be in a relationship because that was like a scary
yeah.
concept. Okay.
It was scary. I mean, I'm a little awkward now, right? But how much more, like when I was younger, I was extremely awkward. I was pretty like I was pretty nerdy, right? Like nothing about me. I think I'm very different than what I was, and even now, I'm not the most like uh, social. So I think
Yeah.
back in the day, I just knew from the start, like it's completely incompatible.
Yeah.
Parents, this is nothing would work out. And also I had a vague idea of like, hey, I'm not supposed to date someone that's not Christian. So
Yeah.
uh, that actually was in my mind. Like I knew my parents would not approve. So those are some of the reasons.
I actually never knew that, and actually never knew that you're not supposed to date someone who's not Christian. I
Uh,
never heard that growing up. I wonder when I first heard it. because there was a point in my junior year of high school, right? I mean, this is obviously a different story. Where I had like this person, and then like um, she had some like praise team like commitment where like she wasn't allowed to date in high school. So
Yeah.
at that point, I think I vaguely had a conception of like, oh, like Christians can't date non-Christians. I mean, I just become Christian at that point, right? But
Mhm.
for some reason, I already had that preconception that like, yeah, Christians cannot date non-Christians. Right? But I'm curious where I had that.
When it comes to like Christians dating non-Christians, for me, like it was really interesting because in high school, her senior year when I did start dating, when I started dating Kathy, both of, like she wasn't Christian and I wasn't really, or like I was kind of like in a weird place with faith. So
Yeah,
I sort of used that as an opportunity to hop on and dating. You know, I was like, oh, like I'll get my faith back together, but for now, because it's almost
right.
like I can date this non-Christian, and like, oh, how convenient! I'll go back to faith, and then I'll
Yeah,
have to bring her back because now we're already in a relationship. But I learned later on that like it only came with suffering to date someone that's not
yeah,
Christian. You think it's such a good thing, right? But it's only a miracle that we're still dating right now, and
yeah, yeah.
it's only by a lot of prayer and a lot of like learning lessons and yeah, it's just in the moment. I remember thinking like, oh, this like I found a loophole. Yeah.
I guess I had a question, Joe. So you said that how okay, so you had these desires, because you had a crush on, whoever, right? But then you didn't think it was realistic for whatever reason. Right? So did you try to suppress those feelings? Did you try to suppress those desires, or like was it sort of like was it like
Uh
fun to like I guess like play with
oh,
fire? I don't know.
I never actively suppressed it, but it's not like one day I like use my mental effort to just stop trying to like this
Yeah,
person. Uh, I didn't believe that that's possible. But it's just over time. Yeah, I'd say I never did it. In fact, I ended up liking someone for like many years, um, and didn't do anything. But even in high school, like when people did like me back, I still pretended not to like them, even though I did like them, because I just didn't want to be in a relationship. I just
yeah,
didn't want that to happen. But it's like such a paradox, because yeah, it was really weird. That's why I think I was very immature in the way I dealt with certain things. Um,
yeah. So let me tell you this, Joe. I think for me personally, like I, I think I wasn't as self-aware as you, meaning that I didn't realize the consequences, if that makes sense. So
I
like
mean,
for
I
you,
was very not self-aware, but
well
I'm
for
sure
you,
we're
like
both, yeah.
if for you, like okay, you like somebody, and then like what's it called? You realize okay, this is not realistic. So you at least made an attempt to like you know pretend you didn't like this person,
Mm.
right? At least for me, I think if I like somebody, right? Think I knew from a very early age that like I had no idea what this conception of dating was, right? And I certainly was not mature enough to do it. And like I had no idea. In fact, I have a story from my freshman year of high school. Actually, very shameful of, where like like I sort of like was scared about this idea of like being in a relationship. So I sort of like this is another story, right? But at the very least, in middle school and high school, I had this conception of like, oh shit, I'm not mature enough to be in a relationship. Like, I don't even know what that is, right? But then there's sort of like this desire, like, oh, I like this person. So I mentioned that because, like, yeah, I think for me, like, it never really it never really went across my mind that, like, okay, like, it's not realistic. Therefore, I should suppress these desires. Like, therefore, like, I should pretend I don't like this person, right? I just sort of like was sort of more carnal, I guess, like just like wherever the desires led me, like like I just followed
Interesting.
without
Yeah.
recognizing like consequences. Right?